Have you ever ventured out on your own while traveling? It can be liberating to seek out your own interest, like my sister and I did in Austria.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to Travel FOMO. I'm Hilarie Houghton, here with my husband, Jamin.
Hey there.
And we're in the middle of a secret season, reliving the experiences that resulted in my own travel FOMO, and thus your travel FOMO, Jamin.
Yes, you infected me.
More than 15 years ago, my sister and I backpacked through 9 countries in Europe.
So this episode is about your time in Austria, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
So what cities did you go to in Austria?
We just went to 2. We went to Vienna, which is more urban, and to Salzburg, which is very quaint.
Very good. As we jump into the conversation, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast from wherever you're listening.
Awesome. Let's get started with our interview with me and my sister. And we're going to go back in time now.
Here we go.
Oh my goodness. Jessica, I don't know about you, but I remember rolling into Salzburg really, I think it was really late at night. I think we spent the whole day traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a lot of problems because Germany, I don't know if you guys know this, but it is really hard to navigate in Germany. And all of the city names are actually in a German version when you're in Germany. And so Berlin doesn't look like Berlin. Yeah, Munich doesn't look like Munich. And so even I think might be the case for other cities that are in other countries. So you're sitting in a German train station and you're looking at all these destinations, and none of the names match what you would expect them to. So that was pretty crazy. That was like a long day of trying to get to the right place.
Get out of Germany. We just wanted to get out of Germany and on to the next place. But I think what happened, at least on that particular day, is we had gotten up so early. We woke up at like 6:30 to get up and leave for Vienna because the train was supposed to be there at 7:42. That was what time the train was going. And like even the people in our hostel, there were a couple guys that shared a room with us in the hostel, and they gave us a hard time that we were getting up so early to catch that train. And but we got there, and apparently the train that was supposed to be, it wasn't there. We were at the station waiting for it, and there was no 7:42 train to Vienna. So either we misunderstood or they canceled it or something. And then we found another train option that would get us somewhere, at least on the way to Vienna, whether it was a, detour. But it was later on, of course. And then it ended up like switching. It was supposed to be on a particular platform. And all we can think of, like we sat there and watched our train come to a different platform without realizing that was our train.
Ugh.
And it passed us. And apparently they had spoken over the intercom, hey, it's no longer going to be on this platform. It's moving platforms to this other platform. But we don't speak German. And in some countries like France, they would, or in England, they would have multiple languages. Like they would put the instructions over the intercom in multiple languages. So you'd hear it in German, you'd hear it in French, you might hear it in Chinese. They would cover multiple to hopefully get a large group of people. Well, no such thing in Germany. It was like, it's in German and it's in German. And if you don't know German, have a fun day.
Yep.
So, so that is, I think that's part of the reason that day took so long getting out of Germany, because we were just like, oh
and we
gosh,
also accidentally got on a train to the Czech Republic. Do you remember that?
Did we?
Yeah. And we were like headed that way.
That's right. Well, we had to change our plans, I think, maybe we had to go that way.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know. There were other train options that were like 39 euros if we wanted to pay that much to maybe go directly to Vienna or whatever. But I think we kind of had to do a detour.
Yeah.
Do a workaround if we wanted to go that day. I mean, if we wanted to stick around in Germany again, but we didn't want to miss these other spots that we were on a schedule.
We started towards the Czech Republic, and then we had to get off that train because we were like, whoa. We don't want to go to the Czech Republic.
You might be right about that.
And then we like switched trains and like finally ended up in Salzburg. I think we're like, okay, fine. Salzburg, that sounds great. It's
was that the day we had to call mom and dad and be like, we have like all the trains are not being where they're supposed to be. The booklet of all the train schedules, it's changed. It's not current, this and that. And we were, that was Italy. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead, guys. I apologize.
More to look forward to.
So much adventure in 1 month.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, we finally made it to Vienna, but it was late. And if I recall, there was a taxi involved.
There was. And that train ride that got us there was, I don't know if you remember meeting this guy. I think his name was Ansgar Mueller, if I'm saying it right, from Munich. And he was like a college student who'd been at his parents' place, and then he was headed back to Munich to go to college. And he was really friendly, but he had a lot of opinions about Americans.
Yes.
And that was like an interesting conversation. It was enlightening.
Yeah, because I guess like at the time, we had like a senator that was having an affair with somebody or whatever, and we didn't know anything about it. And he was like, don't you guys even read your own news? And we were just like, oh, that's like, don't you even know your own current events? And we're just,
it was rough.
Like, I can't say that I keep up with all my senator's affairs, but good grief.
Yeah. Well, and he knew that Oklahoma voted for Bush. He knew that California elected Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, he knew more than most Americans know that, but he also knew a lot more than most Americans, which was like,
and we are definitely not that. Americans are definitely not that educated on other countries' politics. And here he was, a German, educated on what's happening in American politics. It was like, wow, okay, yeah, we could be a lot more educated just with politics around the world. It's a global world.
And he also mentioned that like Americans don't travel internationally very much, and he found that to be like he wasn't a fan of that. And we kind of had to explain to him that like America is so big. Like, we're just trying to get through our own country and see our own history before we start experiencing the rest of the world. And you could tell he couldn't fathom how big America was,
That's interesting. That is funny. But yeah, that's because, I mean, gosh, just like Europe has all these different countries and different cultures within each country. Gosh, America has different cultures within America.
Yeah.
we got us Southern folk down here with our accents and all.
Right.
And then we have George from New Jersey that doesn't say his R's all the way, right?
Right.
Isn't that?
That's funny.
Oh,
so funny. But yeah, we arrived really late that night after our long train ride with Mueller. And it was like 11 p.m. We've been traveling all day, literally all day. We're so tired. We
were so bummed, I think, that we'd wasted a whole day. Like, that was a whole day we could have been in Vienna. We got up early for this.
I know, yeah. And then we took a taxi. So we're in Salzburg. We take this taxi up a mountain in the dark. It was
up a mountain. Oh,
crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
it was so narrow spots. Like, I don't know how he fit that car through some of these spots.
I know.
Scary.
We were literally like concerned.
Yeah. And he was super nice. He was so nice. And I mean, he spoke German. I don't know if he spoke any English, but he was really sweet. And you could just tell that he was very welcoming and all that. But still, it was like, you're really nice, but your driving really scares me. Or not even maybe how he drove, but just what he had to. I mean, I don't know if he was going fast necessarily, but just the turns and different things that he had to make on that ride was like, it's a fascinating ride.
Well, yeah. And then what would have happened if another vehicle would have come along? Like, who's going to be able to drive backwards?
Yeah.
To get off of that mountain.
It's so narrow. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was crazy.
And that was like, I think when we got to Vienna, I think we had a different hostel in mind. And we didn't have anything booked for it, I don't think. Or if we did, we had to cancel the booking. I don't know. I think we didn't have anything booked.
But this
we
was
had
Salzburg.
an idea. Sorry. No, but this is the day I'm thinking of. Sorry, I get Salzburg and Vienna mixed up a little bit. But this was definitely, I remember us just being concerned about, like, maybe we did have a reservation, but I don't remember.
It was like,
because
we got up there and it was like almost like a home. It was like a bed and breakfast almost on the side of
did
this
they
cliff.
answer? Did they
And
like let us in?
no, well, the door was open and we went in and we knocked and we were trying to get somebody to come and nobody would come. And we ended up feeling like we couldn't just like go to a bedroom, you know? And so we like left, but oh my goodness, I still wonder what it would have been like to stay at that bed and breakfast or hostel or whatever it was.
Oh man,
It seemed amazing.
that's
And
crazy. It would have been neat.
Salzburg at night. It was just amazing.
Oh, stupid
Yeah.
German trains. That's why we missed that hostel, Hilarie. Oh, that's crazy.
Well, I know. And then it's just this thing where you're on trains for hours. You can't exactly call. And even if you could, do you have the phone number of the hostel that you're going to stay at? It was just 15 years ago. It was harder to get a phone and harder to, make a phone call. And certainly
it's not like you have internet. You can just send them an email, send them a text, or send, everything is so modernized. Sure. Like, because we did have, I think, did we bring phones? I mean, I had my flip phone. What? But like,
because I don't think we had international service.
I don't think, even if we brought them, I don't think we used them. Yeah. So we may not have even brought them at all because there would just be no point.
Tell everybody about the place that we ended up staying at, because you kind of got to hang out there a little bit more than I did.
That's what I'm trying to remember. I don't remember getting there. Like, after we left the other hostel, I guess that was just so memorable, just getting to that other place. But I liked the next hostel. I'm trying to remember, like, I don't remember the room, but I remember you, if it was the next day that I'm thinking of, the very next day you went to a Sound of Music tour.
Yes, yeah. It was called Yoho. That was the name of our hostel.
Yoho.
International Youth Hostel, I believe.
Oh,
I believe it went by Yoho.
I didn't even really take a lot of pictures of the hostel itself. So, if any, I don't really recall. But I do remember, I mean, it had like an upstairs, and at one point I remember it must have had like an upstairs where like they kind of curved and they have like a platform. Go up the stairs, there's a platform window by the platform, and then the stairs go back up. I can't recall the rooms at all, but I remember while you were on the tour, I was like sitting there and like journaling, like in my not ironically not a journal, I guess it was more like my prayer journal. I was like sitting in the window, just like,
that's awesome.
And it was kind of rainy because I think you were on your tour, and it was rainy during your tour. And at some point I did go down. They had like a little area, like the social area, on the bottom floor. I don't know if it was a bar or what necessarily, but a social gathering area. And there were several people hanging out down there and watching Rounders, which was a Matt Damon movie. And here I am in that Bourne Identity, Jason Bourne phase. So I'm like, oh, hey, Matt Damon's on TV. Let's watch Rounders. But it was fun. So it was like, I don't remember if I got to meet any, like, I didn't journal about this particular part. So, I don't remember if I got names of anybody, but it was fun. Like, just like it was other tourists, other, hostel backpackers and all that. And we were just like chilling, hanging out, watching Rounders.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a gambling movie.
Didn't they also like play The Sound of Music like once a day or something there because it was in Salzburg?
I think they did. I think you're right. I don't remember if that was, I don't remember actually watching that, but I wouldn't be surprised at some point if I did. Oh, no, what really I did all day. Good grief. I just like chilled at the hostel, I guess.
I know. That was our first
day apart.
Yes. It was our first time where we kind of went on two separate adventures, which became something we became more comfortable with. But like, but yeah, that was the first time. And And I had a good experience with the Sound of Music tour. I would totally do it again, but it was in the rain. Fortunately, we were smart enough to bring umbrellas or a umbrella, but it was still rough. And I was in my Crocs because that was like the most waterproof shoe that I had. And cold and wet. And I remember meeting these two brothers from Philadelphia, Brandon and Evan, and I think we might still be friends on Facebook. So, hey guys, if you ever find this podcast, then I might have to tag you on Facebook for this episode. But and then the tour was kind of an all-day tour, and they were in Austria with their parents, and so we would break for lunch, and I ended up, I didn't really have anybody to eat lunch with, so I ate lunch with this family, and it was really pretty cool. They were very proper. I was like, oh, y'all got a whole family that comes to Europe together. I was like, and here I am in my Crocs, but in my accent. And then I met this girl, Abby, from Australia, and she it was great to have other people around because they could take pictures of me, because otherwise it was going to be me taking selfies on this really amazing tour of all these famous movie scenes from The Sound of Music. And I would totally do it again if the weather's good. I would do it again. But
was it cold? It was very wet. Was it cold on top of that?
Yeah, it was pretty cold.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, this is so cool, but I wonder when it's going to end.
Oh,
because I'm really cold. And I remember getting back to the hostel to see you, and you'd had such a great day. And I was like, I mean, it was great, but it cost a lot of money to be wet and cold. But
funny.
really nobody's fault, though. It's just when
Oh,
you're moving
man.
through so many countries so fast, you don't have the option of waiting to the next day. You got to do it.
Yeah.
That's
the truth.
That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything else about Salzburg that stuck out to you?
Nothing that really stuck out to me, I would say. I mean, it looked I like no one go to Salzburg on my experience because I literally sat inside. Like that's probably the reason I sat inside, is because one, it was rainy, and two, it was our first day apart. So you were out and about on a tour. You can kind of trust the tour, like it's probably pretty safe locations you're going and all that. But I was just like, I'm just gonna chill in here because I don't even know where to go in the rain, and I'm not gonna, by myself on top of that. So I didn't really get out and see as much. So I would love to, I guess if I could do it over, I would have saved a little bit more money. And I don't know, I would say go on your tour with you, but then I'm like, I don't know, I don't like to be cold.
I know, right? I know.
If I could do it again, I would do the tour, but on a sunny day. If I could plan it that way.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Well, then we headed to Vienna. So we were only really there for like 24 hours, and then we made our way to Vienna, and we stayed at the hostel Hudelsdorf. I think I'm saying that right, in Vienna, and it was still raining.
Yes.
And we made our way. We found some made a new friend from North California, Jesse, and he helped. We together found our way to that hostel. And I remember that. I don't know if you remember that hostel, Jess, but like I remember it having a cafeteria style, like the place where everybody gathered to eat would be like a cafeteria. And I was like, I felt like I was in grade school again or something.
How funny. I don't recall that. I don't recall, but I don't recall the hostel as a whole. Yeah. I'm realizing that like we were really excited about taking pictures of our hostels early on, and then later on we're like, yeah, okay, like there's other things to take pictures of.
I'm telling you, I really think we were running out of memory on our digital camera, and so we started deleting stuff, or we just opted not to take photos because we were like, well, I don't want. Boy, I would definitely do that. I'd take more photos for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But,
that's funny.
Do you remember going out that night? We met up with we met some new people from Florida, Katie and Hector, and we met them on the subway, and we hung out all night long.
I don't remember what we did though, but I do remember meeting them, and I remember like, oh, that's gonna be fun, that's cool, but I don't really remember what we did.
Yeah, we just walked to the city. We went into a couple bars, I think. There were like these bars that were kind of pseudo underground, like you'd have to walk down into them a little bit.
Okay.
And they had really cool vibes. And I remember the guy Hector, he didn't drink. So for me, that was kind of non-threatening. It was like, okay, I'm not going to be pressured here to like,
Mm-hmm.
to
Get
hang out with
crazy
these
or
people, have to be
whatever.
wild and
Yeah.
crazy or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were really funny. I think I remember them being really funny and us just having a really great time with them.
Yeah. I remember again. Yeah. I have that same feel, that just good vibes from them,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. But and then the next day it was still raining. Or it was raining again or something, and we did laundry in the basement of the hostel.
Yeah, gosh, again, not something to take for granted when you're
Right?
backpacking.
Right.
Especially when you're wearing the same clothes. Whatever you pack, you don't get to pack like 30 different outfits.
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing the same however many sets that you are able to bring. I don't know. What do we have? 5 maybe?
Yeah.
I think I don't know. We probably had a little bit more, each of us, depending which garments we liked. But just not a lot of outfits. And so like you're making the rounds through them, and you're like, all right, well, and you're walking. So like at some point I gotta wash this.
Yeah.
Yay for laundry.
Yeah. Well, and then you got to if you're in the rain all the time, you got to somehow get those clothes dry, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of a mess. I would pack smarter next time. I think I would, and I would also be prepared if I have the money. I would be prepared to buy clothes along the way and throw away clothes along the way and rotate out.
Yeah.
Because it's fun too to come back home with new clothes. As we were about to leave Vienna, I have a lot of memories from that internet cafe, Jessica. And I don't know if you remember this, but we sat down, we got on, this is where it costs like €3 or €2 for 30 minutes to talk on or to be on the internet. And we were like messaging Lamar and having a conversation with Lamar, which was so cool. And
Live,
then,
like back and forth. Which was like not as common back then as it is today.
Yeah, was it IM? It wasn't necessarily IM, right?
I thought that, no, maybe we didn't. I thought that maybe he like actually was responding back to us. No,
Yeah.
that surely not, because the time frame. He would have been probably asleep. That's probably true.
Well, I don't know, because I did in my notes, I said like we were talking to him for 30 minutes. So I don't know what talking meant, but it probably was instant messaging.
But I guess he is a night owl, so.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he was staying up late and just happened.
Yes.
We got
Who
lucky.
knows? But so that was fun. But then the crazy thing is we were so engrossed with that we didn't realize that the cafe was smoking. And there was literally firemen walking in, and the ceiling was on fire, and or smoking or something, and
something was going on, and a whole team was in there.
I know, that was crazy. And then that's also that was the train station where my purse finally broke. I had this black purse that I like loved, that like it was a crossbody purse, but it did like the strap wasn't seamless, so like it broke, and I ended up buying me a new purse, and I was real happy about this khaki new purse that I got. And I bought it strategically because it is seamless, so there's no way you could like break the handle or anything. It would always like stay around my body, and that was like really purposeful for me. It's kind of funny
because I mean, we really did have to be so careful on like not well, like even with our passport and all those important things. I don't know if we talked about this much in our previous episodes, but like we had a lanyard. I don't know if we're giving away secrets, but you had a lanyard that you wore under your shirt that had it, and I think it was like, actually we bought it. It was like a real thing that was that we bought specifically for traveling and like to hold on to your important documents. Like it's not something we just made up, but it was like this plastic little, I don't know, zippy, for lack of a better term, that like was attached to this lanyard, and we like had our passport and our
Mm-hmm.
Eurail, all of our tickets, money, like all these really important like identification documents that like we don't want these to get stolen. And if we have if a bag gets stolen, okay, then whatever, the bag gets lost, but then
Yeah.
at least we won't have all these important documents. Like they're literally going to have to get under our shirts. It's not going to be easily pickpocketed out of us.
Yeah.
And so but yeah,
That
I
was really
mean,
smart. I remember there were a lot of instances where I was like, I'm glad we have, like, we're wearing something under us that would be so hard for somebody to access. And it was a really
yeah,
safe way to keep passports and credit cards and money and all that stuff. It was really
yeah.
smart.
But it makes sense that you would buy a purse with a utilitarian purse, a cute but
Yes.
purposeful purse.
Yes, I still have it, and it's just a really
Do you
good
really?
travel. Yeah, it's a great travel purse. It's also really kind of sporty. So, and you can use these drawstrings to make it a bigger purse that expands more or make it a
Oh,
smaller
wow.
purse. It's like,
Handy.
yeah, it's pretty like, I mean, it's, cheesy, but it's khaki. So it kind of like will always be okay.
Yeah.
Funny.
Cool.
But okay, so Jessica, as we kind of wrap up Austria, what was your favorite memory of Austria? So that would be Salzburg or Vienna.
Well, ironically, my favorite memory has nothing to do with the country itself. So it's like meh. But it was when we were in Salzburg, right? That's where the Sound of Music
Mm-hmm.
tour happened. Um, where I was, and I really will say I really did enjoy that day. I think I really did enjoy just like socializing with the other people, watch the other Americans, and just like, just people are fun. And so it really doesn't matter what you're doing. But that particular day was the day that I was journaling, particularly in my prayer journal. And I decided, I really felt like God was telling me in that moment while I'm journaling in the window by the stairs of the hostel, that I don't think I'm supposed to go to a college that I had planned on transferring to in the fall. Here it is summertime. I was
Oh,
planning on transferring to a Christian college in like Missouri, like Kansas City, Missouri, I think where it was. And I wanted to go to Evangel University. And actually, no, I take that back. I wanted to transfer to ORU. Those were two colleges that I had kind of been tossing back and forth between. And I decided, you know what? I think I just want to stay in Oklahoma, but I want to go to ORU. And but I don't know why, but I just felt like, and here we were having such a great trip. It's like the most random thing, but I really felt like God was telling me, no, don't go to ORU, just transfer to Weatherford, which is because I went to Southwestern University. I started my first year in Sayre, the smaller campus, and commuted. And instead of transferring to ORU, that day, literally, I decided to transfer to Weatherford, where I met my husband. I did not meet my husband, but where my husband and I got together. It was we had already met, but we were not serious or anything like that. But it wasn't until I transferred to Weatherford that we got more serious
oh my
and actually got
gosh.
married.
So it was like
Yeah.
a big life moment right there in
It
Salzburg.
was in a very random place, not a particularly special day. Nothing special was
Yeah.
really happening that day for me,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, and I love that some of your best memories are the memories where you just stopped and didn't do anything, or did
Mhm.
less,
Yeah.
and that something meaningful came from that time that otherwise you might would have looked at as like, oh man, I wish I would have done something different that day, but it ended up being a really important day.
Yeah. It was
That's
nice.
awesome. Mine is less
What
like
was yours?
well, mine is like yours is so like meaningful. Mine was like I just really liked that taxi ride up the side of the mountain.
I will say, I mean, like, having lived through it
Yeah.
and knowing that you're gonna live through it, I would do it again. I mean,
Yeah.
because it was just so exhilarating. You're like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now? Oh, oh.
Are we gonna live? And then he's gonna drop
Yeah,
us off on the side of this mountain. Like, I hope
yeah.
everything's okay up there.
Like, I mean, like, it felt like a good roller coaster. Looking back, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, just like you would, roller coaster
Yeah.
be exhilarating. I would have loved to, us talking about that hostel. It would have been really cool to ever go back and to actually get to stay in that hostel on that hill.
Yes. Yeah, that's totally like on my list of things I wish I would have done, was to actually stay in that hostel. And yeah, or just have sat down in a cafe in Salzburg and enjoyed the view and just people watched. Like, I feel like I love those types of memories. So
Yeah.
and I would totally do, if I were to do something over, I would do the Sound of Music tour over again for sure.
Yeah.
I
would have probably, it was like, what was it, 50 or 75 euros? It was a lot. I was like, whoa, she really loves the Sound of Music.
Yeah, it was expensive.
But I think I probably would have enjoyed it. If the weather was nice, to be truthful, I probably would have been like a Debbie Downer on that. If I had gone on the tour with you, you would have probably been like, oh my gosh, she's cold and she is cranky.
And not enjoying
I like Sound of Music, but I don't think I love it to the degree that you do.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could have handled all the conditions.
Yeah.
But
well, and like you and I have been in the Sound of Music together on stage, and then I've done it 4 times, like 4 different shows in 4 different locations of the Sound of Music. So like for me, like I can repeat everybody's lines back to you. I definitely felt like I had seen the movie enough too that I like wanted to see the tour. And it was fascinating. The home where the kids live is actually or the home in the movie where the kids lived is actually, you had to see it from across a lake, and it's legit. Like, it is exactly what you see in that movie. And it's private property. It's somebody's house right now. And so you could only get so close, but there were a lot of other locations. You could go see the Abbey and then go to the gardens where the kids sang Do Re Mi, and all those, just a lot of different scenes from the movie. But for me, having known the movie so much, I recognized those places and I could tell you what lines were said there, so it's a little different. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
It's your Jason Bourne.
Exactly. You were into Jason Bourne. I was into the Sound of Music. It's a little different, but
oh gosh.
So as we've walked through the trip, and if people haven't heard the other interviews between you and Jessica, they should definitely go back and listen. There's a lot of cool stuff there. But this is kind of the first time that you guys went separately and kind of did stuff on your own. So that, this was the first time that kind of gone on, right?
It kind of makes Salzburg specifically is kind of where we kind of got a little more brave, and started, to venture out on our own.
Gotcha. So what's it like to kind of strike out on your own in a foreign country?
Well, it is liberating, because you do get to do whatever is of interest to you. And in this example, from this trip, my sister and we both really loved the Sound of Music, but I loved it more, and I was willing to spend some money to go see these places. And my sister was perhaps the wiser in that moment. She was like, it's raining. I'm not going. I'm not spending that money on this. And she loved her day. She talks about that day, and she loved it just as much. So I think it's really, it can be really liberating to do whatever it is that you want to do on that day and in that moment.
But that's a hard thing to do on a trip, right? Especially if it's just 2 people or a smaller group of people. You kind of get out on a trip and everybody feels compelled to do everything together.
Right.
So that's kind of a difficult step to take. Did you guys talk about that before you went? That hey, we'll probably do stuff on our own, or did you just make that decision that day?
Great question. We actually made that decision that day, kind of on the fly. I think we had, from what I remember, I think we really just thought we would do everything together. We didn't really think much about the idea of us doing things on our own. And it kind of just unfolded that way. I think different people have different personalities too, right? So you definitely, if you're going with a group, there becomes a group think involved where everybody just does the same thing.
Right.
There's also kind of, I've been on trips where you've got a really tall person in the group. They know how to make decisions for themselves and they go do what they want to do. And everybody follows them.
Everybody just goes along.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. And so I find that to be really interesting just because people can get, how do you say it? For lack of better words, people can get lazy and they just go with the flow and they don't stop to think about what they want and what these other people are doing might not be what's in their best interest. And so they just kind of, which it can be fun to just relax and let someone else be in control, but you'll get more out of it if you take the reins on your trip.
Right, because you're in a strange place, eating strange foods, sleeping in a strange bed, doing all that kind of stuff. And so I think you kind of go on autopilot in other ways. And some of that can be decision making as far as like what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And people can really follow into that. Do you think that there are benefits to solo travel?
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating to see people do that. As you can kind of tell throughout this journey that my sister and I went on, we'd come across individual travelers and it just kind of blew my mind. I loved it. I've done some of that on my own, so I would definitely recommend it. But I've only done it domestically. But it almost becomes a very reflective trip where you get to do a lot of thinking. It could become a very social trip depending on who you are and how social you are. You could end up making lots of friends and all of a sudden expanding your network. It's just kind of the person you are, and how does that play out in your solo adventure.
Got it. So how far into the trip were you when this day took place, when you guys decided, you know what, today we're going to do our own thing?
Yeah, it feels like that didn't happen till the end of the trip, but when I look back, it was actually day 10.
Day
so
10.
Yeah, so we were about a third of the way. We went for about a month, and we were about a third of the way through our trip, and we were already kind of tired of each other. Well, actually, I wouldn't even say that in that moment. We were comfortable. It took about a third of the trip before we were comfortable. Yeah, 10 days.
Well, I mean, 10 days is like, that is a long time, especially with one other person.
It's longer than most people's vacations in America.
Right.
We don't usually go on 10-day vacations. So, it's a pretty long, 10.
And you're everywhere together. You're sleeping in the same places, eating in the same places. So, like, I mean, that like 10 days that's a long time. Like, that's
true.
You guys did pretty good, in my opinion.
Well, we love each other a lot, so it helped.
So, was it hard to acknowledge that, like, okay, like we're 10 days in, like, let's get a little space, or did it just work out that way because of the weather?
Yeah, we kind of were starting to acknowledge that we needed space. I think at that time we were still okay, but more and more as the trip went on, we became, acknowledging that, like, hey, we are two different people and we do like two different types of things, and we like to do things our way sometimes. And so it can be difficult because you don't want to hurt feelings. You're highly aware that you're still traveling with this person for several more weeks. So
you've got to make it work.
You got to make it work. You can't you can't just totally just jab at each other, and unload on each other. So So I guess it wasn't that hard. You just got to be kind about how you go about doing it.
Yeah.
I don't remember how kind I was about it, but
So, what do you do when it rains while you're traveling?
oh my gosh.
Was it worth, like, because you said you were kind of cold on the tour. Jessica decided not to go on the tour with you. Like, so was it worth it to go on the tour?
Great question. I think it was worth it. I still have, like, very clear memories of that tour. And so I would say do it anyway, but be prepared for the rain. So I had an umbrella, so that really helped. I didn't have the best shoes, so my feet were freezing, but be as prepared as you can, and be brave, carry on. You don't have a lot of time in all these locations. In most cases, you're trying to pack in as much as you can. Come rain, snow, sunshine, it doesn't matter. You have to keep making the best use of your time. And so for me, we had that one day in Salzburg, and that was all I got. And so I had to make it work. But you do need to know your limits, and just adjust if you need to. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard balance to strike sometimes between going like, no, this is what was planned, and so it has to happen, and you do it at the cost of enjoying your vacation or having fun. But then the other extreme is I want no discomfort at all, and so the slightest hurdle throws me off. And like you said, there's always some kind of resource limit, whether it's financial or time, that you may not get that opportunity again.
Yeah. And it is interesting that you say that, because you and I are a good example of that, right? We're two different people. I'm more likely to err on the side of, we made a plan, let's do it, rain, sunshine, doesn't matter, this is happening, whether it's downpouring on us or whether it is so blazing hot we're not going to have any fun. I'm all about I can be really hardcore, and you on the other side are like, well, wait a second, I want to enjoy myself. How do I go about enjoying myself and doing this? And if I'm not going to enjoy myself, I don't even want a part of that. And so, I think we kind of go back and forth on that, pendulum a little bit together.
Well, I think it's good to get pulled in a different direction every once in a while, because you need it. Both. I think you said it well. We're both very different, but it sort of balances out.
Yeah.
And that I do stuff that maybe I would have, if I was on my own, gone not today. I don't feel like it. And maybe I balance you out a little bit to say hey, we can readjust this if we need to.
Well, and that's really good advice for travelers, right? Is to play off of the person you're with, play off of their strengths, and allow them to teach you something that maybe you wouldn't have normally done it that way. Because I can think back to a lot of our vacations where you did something that you kind of created space for us to I would say have a rest day, but we don't necessarily have rest days, but implement opportunities for us to just relax. And those are some of my favorite moments, And so I think it's good,
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. I think it's all kind of about that, pulling back and looking at things, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, how sometimes if you're in a group, you just blindly follow one person.
Yeah.
But it's that taking a step back from that exact moment and going okay, let's look big picture and what's really going on here, and why am I here, and then really prioritizing and chasing that.
Yeah.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Travel FOMO podcast. Thanks to Hilarie's sister, Jessica Giles, for being part of this and sharing her experiences with us.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. And it was great to hear your thoughts. And then we want to also hear from our listeners too. You guys may have traveled alone or ventured out on your own on a trip, and we want to hear about it. Tell us about it. You could post throwback photos on social media and tag us. That's a really fun way to share your experience. And you guys can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. That's where we share our photos and videos and everything from our own trips. And you can also learn more about us at travelfomopodcast.com.
That's right. And next week, Jessica and Hilarie will be making their way into Italy. If you're enjoying the Travel FOMO podcast, help others find us. You can do that by taking time to rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening.
Life is short.
Wander well.